Alright, what's happening, fam? L.A.R movement still moving. Book entitled Lessons from a Non-Custodial Father at Amazon Kindle Create Space. Link will be in the description box below, as usual. This was entitled Sabotaging the Youth. Um, take it back from like 50 years. Let's do that. 50 years. Bring it into the fact cost of living, family, networks, and how in government, and how that's different from today, and why it's sabotaging the youth, because the cost of living is different. See, the cost of living has increased pretty much every decade for the last 50 years, but wages didn't. So the classic cars from the 60s, the muscle cars, they weren't the price that they were then. Now homes weren't the price that they were now. So people had more disposable income back then, because for one, I would say you could still not finish high school and go off to college and quote unquote get a good job, still be in the middle class, still provide for your family, still send your kids off to college to get a better education. People had more kids because the cost of living was different, and so you don't have to pay as much for food, diapers, blah blah blah. Families were intact, not just nuclear but extended. So when it came to raising children, less daycares, because you can take the kid over here, take the kid over there, or this family member could watch kids, or or people rotate, and they go here this week and that week and then next weekend here and that, and people communicated and were able to have kids grow up, know each other as family members, whether they be brother, not just siblings but cousins and stuff. And they really, in some ways, saved people money. The cost of education was different. Even, as far as student loans go, people say, well, I went to school and I worked my way through school and I paid. Yeah, but please don't act like if you went to school in the 60s, 70s, 80s, maybe even the 90s, that if you worked your way through school and paid your way, that was because school was way cheaper. Yeah, you could actually pay for school for $5,000, $10,000. You can actually work your way through school like that if it was $10,000 a year. That is not the norm nowadays. So to put the youth on the expectations of other generations when they're financially lived in two different financial eras, 2, 3, 4, 5 different financial eras, depending on which time period you're talking about in the last 50 years, is a cop out. Family. People forget about the families who had a network. People worked in different professions and had different trades and maybe had different hobbies. So you didn't have to call you didn't have to call a plumber necessarily, an electrician necessarily, a mechanic necessarily. You know, even if a neighbor might be able to help you with your situation. So that kept people in some ways financially secure, and it kept society working and communities good and people getting along, and it, and it made life easier. So as the years progressed, rugged individualism and capitalism went into overdrive. Thus, you know, the way that other generations were parented and groomed to being adults, and the support systems that they had, they dropped the ball on repeating that cycle for their own children. And then it's like, oh, well, I had to do this all on my own. But they did. But as long as you don't know the full story, you know, now you're stuck in the mold that, you know, oh, well, I guess I got to do this on my own the same way they did. And then you got older generations who are so happy to just live their golden years in freedom. They forget to tell their grandkids and great grandkids the truth to how things really went down, and thus, you know, another problem which is passing on information from multiple generations to a younger generation to take on, because let's be honest, you know, the old home remedies, the passed down heirlooms, the property, the family trees, the photo albums, you know, your great grandparents' china and your great granddad's tools and guns, that don't really exist no more. So, you know, you have people who know this information and they capitalize on it, and that's for their own personal gain. But it's never passed down to the youth, so it sabotages the youth because then they're not left with a full story, and they're also not passed down an inheritance to, not just for their own benefits to blow or whatever, but with the idea that it was done for them, so they have to do it for the next generation also. It creates a free, a free for all where everybody's out for self. But everybody who's out for self is not telling you that everybody was, you had a bunch of people who were silver spoon kids and people who were coddled and people who had support systems also saying that they were out for self, with people who were really put out in the wilderness and just sink or swim life. So, this is why I say sabotaging the youth, because and now you got these youth who have to get in here with a different cost of living, different size debt, different size family structure, different, not probably no network in family or outside. They have to build a network outside of family. Community is not intact per se. What I mean by neighbors are not going to help you. even though it's the information age, and you can find pretty much everything you need online, you can't find information in your own family, that might be pertinent to your success in life. So for the most part, what winds up happening is the youth is sabotaged because they don't have all the advantages that their elders had. The information age is the only advantage. Everything else is a disadvantage. Even governmentally, government programs, Social Security might be gone. Future generations may not even have that, so that might just be a waste. They might be paying into something that they'll never see, and taking care of the very people who didn't take care of, who blew it and squandered it. So I think it's one of those things where we're just gonna see how this plays out. Yeah.